One time, there was a great software giant, tycoon. This was a case of rags to riches. His deep learning, data analytics algorithms made his company grow exponentially. But as it is said, time and tide doesn't wait for anyone. So soon, in his own processor systems, in his own life, he got a system called a system interrupt. This was a system interrupt from the universal website, the universal algorithms shooting out, and this famous website was www.yamlok.com. So the customer care representatives of yamlok.com came to personally escort our software giant to his next processor system, and in this way he was taken to the court to have a one-to-one audience, a business deal with Yamaraj. So Yamaraj evaluated his whole profile, and Yamaraj said that in your profile your actions are a big mix of various polarities. So therefore we want to offer both the options to you. Let us see how you do your configuration analysis and what do you choose. Yamaraj said, we have two options to offer to you. Now for your further destination, you can either choose to stay in hell or you can choose to stay in heaven. Now our software giant, he was not acquainted with these two terminologies. He knew Mac, he knew Linux, Red Hat, Ubuntu, Android, iOS, Node.js. Those are the kind of technologies, those are the kind of names which he knew, but he never knew names like hell and heaven. So he said, okay, to make a choice actually, I need to do a full data analytics, I need to do a full configuration, I need to do a full configuration analysis. And Yamaraj said, so be it, you will be taken on a personal royal escort to both these places. You can evaluate these places and then make a choice, where do you want to reside as your further destination. So while our giant was being taken towards hell, from a distance the Yamaduta showed him that this is how hell looks like. There, the planet, that's hell. And our giant was astonished because what he was seeing was waterfalls, and he was seeing there are valleys and flowers and greenery and birds and beautiful damsels roaming around, and he said, wow, this seems to be a very beautiful place. Is this what is hell? And then the Yamaduta told, we are not going to prompt you towards any conclusion, we are only facilitators. Very soon we will land there, you get to understand more about it, you decide what you want to do. And the software giant said, no, my prediction algorithms are very far-sighted. I have understood what does hell mean. We don't want to go there, go to the next planet. And the Yamadutas were startled, but then anyways they drove towards heaven. And then they showed that planet which you see out there, that's heaven. And lo and behold, when our software giant was looking at it, what he saw was a was a dry, scorched up desert, parched up land being burned and bruised. No vegetation, people living in the day is burnt and bruised. And the sun was burning up everything, eating away everybody's peace of mind, existence. It was such a horrifying, dreary place, dried up, parched up. And the giant said, this was heaven. And the Yamadutas told him, very soon you will land there, you can understand more about it. He said, no, my algorithms are very powerful, very far-sighted. I made a choice, I want to go back. And then he was taken back to Yamaraj. He said, okay, I choose hell. Yamaraj got up from his seat and he said, oh hell, what did he choose? But anyways, the choice was done. So he was taken to hell. When he landed in hell, he saw that the scene was completely different. There were frying pans which were frying different people. And one particular horrifying looking entity had made a frying pan. The oil was boiling and this was for him. So he got very afraid. And there were people being beaten up, people being stabbed with weapons. It was a very heart-rending, horrifying sight, and he said, "What is this?" The hell was looking like waterfalls and beautiful damsels, and what is this here? And the Yamadutta said, "That's why we were telling you, you go and see, land there and see, but you said you are very far-sighted algorithms or something we don't know." So he said, "No, I will raise it in, no, I will raise an issue. This is an international violation. I mean, this is a violation of international business ethics." And he started using such terminologies. The Yamadutta caught him and made him, dumped him in front of Yamaraj. So Yamaraj was trying to understand the story, because he was given the choice. He only made the choice. And then the Yamaraj heard that this man, only from a distance he saw what appeared to him, how it appeared to him, and made a decision. And Yamaraj had a hearty laugh. He said, "Oh, from a distance what you were seeing was just a screensaver, and those kind of ideas we borrowed from your of how your computers work. So we also put a screensaver over these planetary systems. It's all about computer science. So therefore, in life, it is very important to understand what is a screensaver and what is a real flavor. What is worth pursuing as a goal, meaningful, what is meaningful, what is substantial, and what is a shadow. So what should be a goal worth investing time, energy and consciousness, and what is a loophole, that is very important to understand. Time and again people have been cheated by temporary, flickering manifestations of reality. In fact, the Vedic Shastras describe moha as attachment to a temporary, a false representation of reality. That which is transient, that which is temporary, is a false representation of reality. Just like the beauty in this world. So we may see beauty may be very attractive, very enticing, but it doesn't last for long. Just like if a boy is 22 and if a girl is 19, then the boy is handsome, the girl is looking very beautiful, and they can have romantic episodes among them. There is love, there is attraction, there is romance, there is enjoyment there. Now just imagine the same girl becomes 83 and the boy becomes 86, and both of them from 2 eyes to 4 eyes they have become. Their limbs are all creaking, their body is bent, and now the wrinkles all over their faces. From 2-legged they become 3-legged. The hairs have gone. So where is that attraction? Where is that charisma? Where is that infatuation? So that means it's just like grapes turn into dried up raisins. In this way, the temporary beauty of this world falls apart. So therefore, the Vedic Shastras are warning us not to give all one's attention, focus and life energy to the pursuit or chasing after these temporary goals, which will not last for long. So attraction to wealth, name, fame, opposite sex, all that is moha. We see in the pastimes of Sri Ramayana, when Mother Sita got attracted to that golden deer Maricha, who had come in the form of that golden deer, that kicked off a cascade of troubles and agonies, agonizing situations, torturous situations that everyone had to go through. Obviously, Lord Ramachandra was showing that pastime to show that life may not be a bed of roses. There may be trials and tests which a person has to go through, but if one follows the path of dharma, then one is eternally victorious. But through this episode, Lord Ramachandra is also showing that when one gets attracted to this temporary glamour and glitter, then that is what starts the agonizing trial for the person. So therefore, one should not be attracted, or one should not base one's life behind these temporary things. Rather, one should seek out for that, in this whole changing scenario, one should seek out for that which is unchanging, that which is permanent. So yes, the spirit soul identity is permanent. The spirit soul is a resident of the spiritual world, but he forgets his true identity and then he comes to this material world. And when he comes to this material world, he gets attracted to the glittering illusion of this world. And in this way, the living entity is getting entangled. He he foolishly thinks himself to be the material body. Just like sometimes people play video games, just like if you are playing a 4D gaming actually on a car race, then one thinks that, so then one is identifying with the car, that okay, I am this car, and then by identifying, one's degrees of freedom get completely choked up. Why? Because the car can only move left right. It can neither be on the right side of the road, the center of the road, or the left side of the road, and all what one can choose is a speed. It can speed up at what, but then one is getting, because of that misidentification, one is completely getting so much deeply affected by the illusory problems which are coming. Now in the video game, the car may be surrounded by another car, and and one may be lagging behind, others are going ahead, one may feel depression, or one is hit by by an accident, the car, and then one may feel very depressed that he has lost it, but actually he has not lost anything. So it is just a game of misidentification that one is getting attracted to this glittering illusion, and one lands up spending so much life and energy. One's life gets short circuited, and one is getting all kind of illusory sanskaras, which is actually going to reflect which is actually going to reflect in him getting weird kind of bodies in next life, because the whole premise is illusion. There is a simulation of illusion going on. So therefore we can understand that material beauty is simply a poor imitation of spiritual beauty. It is the spiritual beauty which is valuable, and spiritual beauty is experience, or the spiritual beauty blossoms only when we connect to God in love, in devotion, in service. Bill Britt, the famous US multimillionaire, one time in his speech gave a very meaningful realization. He said, US is a mighty country, but where is our culture going to? Drugs, violence, divorce, sex. That's not the American dream. He said, look at India. I admire their culture. They have got much better families and values than we do. They have got much better parents than we do. Their families are much more united than ours. I respect their values. So why is it so that the family culture, the sweetness of relationships is there in Indian tradition so prominent? Because religion or spirituality has been so prominent in Indian tradition and heritage. That's the Vedic heritage which we are still carrying on the remnants of. So there is a saying which says that a family which prays together stays together. In fact, one time in US they did a survey of all the families and couples who survived in marriage for at least 3 years, and they were asking what are the prominent factors which have led you to be united and your marriage to be successful for this long. And one of the most overwhelming factors which came up as a result of the analysis was religion, spirituality. So it is these values and principles. It is these values and principles basically which are giving us the sweetness of relationships, which are giving us meaning, fulfillment, colors, flavors in our life. Not the temporary goals of wealth, name, fame, prestige, gadgets, and gross satiation. Not that, but it is these values and principles and character, the sweetness of character. And these values and principles are just a germination, a plant which is shooting out from the base of faith in God, the desire to follow the God's instructions. That's what Bill Britt is saying. Nowadays, unfortunately, many youngsters are being influenced in India. They are being influenced by US media. They are being influenced by the wrong culture. And therefore, he says, if I would have been the Prime Minister of India for 15 minutes, I'd shoot all the Western channels out of that sweet country. So why? Because they dry up the sweetness of the glare, the glitter actually intoxicates and infatuates us so much, it dries out our faith in God. And because of that, there is no germination of principles and character, that sweetness of qualities, and therefore the sweetness and meaning in life goes missing. Now one may ask a question, no, scriptures and spirituality means following rules and regulations, why should I bound myself to all these? Let me have a free life, I want to have freedom, let me be free, whatever I want I can do, whatever I think I can, whatever way I want to think I can think, anything I want to do I should be able to do, I want freedom. So one can say it very casually that I want freedom, but it is very important to question that what quality of freedom one is asking for. What is this kind of freedom? This is exactly like the freedom of a street dog. A street dog is also free to roam around, eat anything, roam around anywhere, but what is the reality? We see so many street dogs on the street, being trampled by some or the other vehicle, somebody's leg is gone, somebody's intestines are coming out. That's the case of treatment which a street dog gets. Nothing to eat here and there, roaming around simply. Bones are coming out, body is emaciated. Even children throw stones. The street dog. What kind of treatment a pet dog gets? He stays in the same, he sleeps on the same bed as a master. He travels in the same car as a master. In the West, there are supermarkets just for dogs, dog dress, dog biscuits, dog everything. So better to be a pet dog, pet of God, having the strap of the rules and regulations of the scriptures, than be a street dog and suffer. So therefore we have to understand the soul is coming from a spiritual world, which is a spiritual plane where every word is a song, every walk is a dance, water like nectar, all living beings are pure, there is no old age, disease and death. That's our home. And to revive that and awaken that and reinstate ourselves to the spiritual world, to the spiritual reality of our existence should be the goal of our lives. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or the moon, nor fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Each one of us have a tendency, an intrinsic desire to serve someone. We have an intrinsic desire, an intrinsic need to love someone. So now service, the tendency to love and serve cannot be shunned, but it has to be reposed in the right place. If we repose it in a fleeting ground, it is not going to bear any fruit. But if we repose it in an eternal ground, it will bear an eternal, perennial fruit. And that's why our loving and serving propensity should be reposed in God. Why? Because Krishna is an ocean of happiness. Our need for love is oceanic. Therefore, when our need for love is reposed on other living entities, it comes in the form of expectations, and many times these expectations go Mount Everest high. So no mortal person can supply so much expectations or so much of need of love, because somebody can give a cup of love, somebody can give a tumbler, somebody can at max give a syntax tank. But if one's need is like an ocean, only God can satisfy. And that's why our loving service should be reposed in God. God is absolute. His name, His form, His qualities, His attributes are all absolute. We connect in any way to God, we can experience full oceanic absolute mercy. But that's not the case with this material world. In the material world, there is some or the other discrepancy somewhere or the other. Somebody may be having a name Lakshmipati, but he is working as a peon. So it's just the opposite. Somebody may look beautiful, but his character not good. Somebody may sing nicely, but doesn't look beautiful. So there is always discrepancy in this material world. But when we talk about God, every aspect of Him is absolute and complete. If we connect to God in any way, shape or form, we get to reach the fulfillment, experience the fulfillment of our existence. Yeah, just like the nature of sweet, the sugar is to be sweet, salt is to be salty. Similarly, our nature is to serve God with unconditional love. We saw the case study of Arjuna. Arjuna was completely stressed out in the beginning of the battlefield. Why? Because he was depending on his own analysis, data analytics, on his own independent algorithms of how to drive his life, how to be happy. This is very much the case like that software giant who did that whole analysis of what these planets look like on his own, and he didn't hear anybody's advice. So he ended up in a mess. Similarly, Arjuna was in a stressed out situation. But Arjuna, being a devotee, he was more intelligent. Before acting, he consulted Krishna. That became the turning point in his life. So Arjuna was quoting, in the first chapter of Gita, you can find Arjuna is quoting Dharma Shastra, Niti Shastra. Arjuna is such a learned person, he is quoting from here and there. Artha Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Niti Shastra, everything. But then after speaking all this with such great eloquence, Arjuna is saying, "Oh Krishna, let me tell you, the limbs of my body are quivering. He is saying, I am not satisfied, the limbs of my body are quivering. My mouth is drying up. My body is trembling. My hairs are standing on end. My Bhagavandiva is slipping from my hand. I am unable to stand any longer. My head is reeling. I am forgetting myself. And in this way, he took shelter of Krishna, that Krishna, you drive the chariot of my life. You give me guidance for sure. And when this happened, that was the turning point. So God surely helps those who seek for God's shelter. And therefore it is said, prayers go up, blessings come down. Yes, so therefore when we accept and follow the instructions given by the Lord in the scriptures or through acharyas, that brings the greatest auspiciousness for everyone. Yes, so therefore the Lord told Arjuna to take shelter of him. So when we take shelter of God, we can become free from all sinful reactions and we can awaken our spiritual existence. That's why Sanjay says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partha Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shri Vijaya Bhutir Dhruva Matir, Nitir Matir Mamaha. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also be certainly opulence, victory, morality. That is my opinion. Yes. So if we forget to love and serve God, we will end up in a mess. Therefore, life is a matter of choices. We should not choose transient pleasure, because transient may be a spike, but its integral is zero. And therefore, we should choose a life based on values and principles, which are explained so beautifully in the Shastras. And therefore, life is like a crossroad. Now, question may come, why does somebody leave the spiritual world at all, if it is so beautiful, if it is so wonderful? Now, this can be explained by a simple story. Just like the girl, the small little baby girl, child, the girl child, she sees that mother is cooking every day, so she gets a desire for cooking. So one day she decides and comes to the mother and she says, Mother, today I am going to cook lunch and we will have a big feast and you go and sleep or you watch TV. And the mother says, very nice, she offers some love, she cajoles, she caresses the child, and she said, okay, now my dear child, you go and play with your dolls. The child was insistent today. She said, no, I am going to cook today. Now the mother was thinking what to do. The child is not listening. So the mother arranged a toy kitchen for the child. And now this girl was busy for 2-3 hours cooking so many dishes in the toy kitchen, and after 3 hours she realized that there are butterflies flying in her stomach. She was so hungry. So this toy kitchen, lot of things were produced, lot of utensils were utilized, everything small. But the girl could understand that nothing of that can satisfy her hunger. So she turned back to the kitchen, peeped in, and the mother looked at her and said, so your lunch piece is ready? And the girl looked down and then she ran to the mother. She embraced the feet of the mother, the legs of the mother, and she hid her head in the sari of the mother. The mother picked her up, mother encouraged her, harassed her, and she said, no problem, don't worry, we have a good feast I have prepared, let us partake. So we see that owing to innocence, ignorance and envy, the living entity desired to be independent of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord has given us toy kitchen in this world. So we see a lot of things are happening, but nothing can satisfy the hunger. Now what we should do when we see that we are empty, there is hunger which is not being satisfied with the cooking we have done in this world, we should turn back to God's kitchen. God is cooking for us. And just like the small girl ran to embrace the legs of the mother, we should run to embrace the lotus feet of the Lord and hide ourselves in the sari, in the instructions which the Lord is giving us, that's a sari. And then the Lord is going to pick us up. So this material world is explained to be like a jail. The jail is meant for reformation. So in a jail, the basic needs and supplies are taken care of, but a person has to work very hard. You have to work more and you get the reward is less. That's what this material world is like. But if one reforms, one can get out of this jail. So therefore we should reform our heart by purifying, by connecting to God, by following the instructions of God. That will increase our freedom from this entanglement, from these conditionings. So how can one become happy? It is explained that just by watering the root of the tree, all parts of the tree can become happy. Similarly, God is the root of this existence, universal existence. We serve God and love God, then we are offering our service to the entire humanity, because love for God manifests as compassion for all other living entities. Similarly, we see that all parts of the body, all the organs of the body, they help in supplying the food to the stomach, because if the food goes to the stomach, every organ feels nourished. So we are like the lost son of a millionaire father. If we can trace out and go back to a father, the father has oceanic bank balance for us, and a greater ocean of love and care and warmth and protection and directions for us. The material world is like a reflection. It's like a shadow, the reflection. So if we dive into the lake thinking that we'll get a mango, seeing a mango reflection, if we are very enthusiastic, we'll break our head. If we are not so enthusiastic, nothing will happen. Where we are not going to get that mango. All what we need to do is look up and see the real tree and a mango hanging down from that tree. Similarly, fluffing for happiness in this material plane is like diving in the river and running behind shadow. If we raise our consciousness and look up towards God, we can see the fruits of love and warmth and direction hanging. So therefore, material world is simply a perverted reflection, and spiritual world is the reality. Material world is like the fake marble, or like the fake currency, or like imitation mango, or material beauty. So one should strive for spiritual beauty. Anything which appears attractive is simply a set of some or the other vibhuti, or in English it is called as opulence. But Bhagavan or God is described as the person who has all these opulences in full. They may be existing in minute, micro, nano quantities in different people, and that's what makes them attractive, but in God all of them exist in full. Parashar Muni describes the definition of God as one who possesses in full 6 opulences. The first one being knowledge. Lord Krishna's 45 minutes extempore in the most stressed out condition of the war, the beginning of the war, is Bhagavad Gita, which comes out to be the unparalleled masterpiece in terms of philosophy, in terms of insights about life, psychology, metrics of how to live, how to control over the subtle drives of conditionings, mind, ego. Amazing. Lord Krishna's wealth was unimaginable and unfathomable. For each of his queens in Dwarka, the Lord had 16,108 palaces, one for each queen. And each palace was putting to shame the beauty of Swargaloka. The Lord is all famous. He's Jagannath. He's all famous. He's so famous that even atheists make it the mission of their life to somehow or the other try to come up with one logic which can convince some people not to believe in God. Because if the person is not very important, why do bother about him? But Krishna is so famous that they make it the goal of their lives to somehow or the other come up with one such reason like that. Krishna is all beautiful, most beautiful. It is said that if you take the most beautiful lady on the earthly planet and make her stand beside the most ugly lady in the heavenly planet, Swarga, the most beautiful lady of the earthly planet will look like a cockroach. Her beauty will look like a cockroach in front of the ugliest lady of the heavenly planet. And if the most beautiful lady of the heavenly planet was made to stand beside Mother Lakshmi ji, she will look like a 90-year-old woman, so ugly. And the beauty of Mother Lakshmi is just like a jugnu or a firefly in front of the beauty of Srimati Radharani, who is like the sun, whose beauty is like the sun. And Acharyas and Shastras explain that Radha Krishna Ekatanu. The beauty of Radharani is the beauty of Krishna. That is how beautiful Krishna is. Strength, Krishna lifted Govardhan at day 7 with the small finger of his left hand for 7 days, effortlessly. And Krishna's renunciation is ready to become a menial driver for the sake of his devotee, Arjuna. So Krishna comes to this world to give us a trailer of how sweet and nectarian are his pastimes. And through that trailer, the Lord is inviting us to enter in the spiritual world. Then we no longer have to be attracted to the minute temporary manifestations of opulences. We can get the Akhil Rasamrit Sindhu, the ocean of love. So that's what the Lord is inviting us to participate in His eternal loving pastimes. Like one time in Sri Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was supposed to start his Gocharan Leela. That means he was supposed to start taking the cows for grazing on the Govardhan. So Lord Krishna was very meticulous. He asked a question to Mother Yashoda, do all the cows have shoes? Mother Yashoda said, no, the cows don't wear shoes. And Krishna said, oh, if the cows don't wear shoes, I will also not wear shoes. And the cows heard that. The cow felt so much aggrieved that how Krishna's lotus feet will touch the ground, some pebbles, some rock may touch his feet. And the cows became very much disturbed because of that. That Krishna should not be harmed. And what he has decided, he is going to do it, make it happen. So that night, all the cows in Nanda Bhavan, they all loosened themselves and they walked. And they went all over Vrindavan, all over that area, all over from Vrindavan to Govardhan, all over the area. And they crushed every stone, every pebble, every particle of rock into such a fine powder, so that when Krishna steps on that feet, it's so soft for him. So this is cow's love for Krishna, and therefore Krishna reciprocates with cow's love. When Krishna is tending the cows, then he is playing his flute. So now it's a time for cows to come back. So therefore the Lord calls out the name of every cow through his flute. And when the cow hears her name, she comes running. So in this way all the cows of the Lord come back, but one cow doesn't come because she wanted to see what is the reaction of Krishna. So when Krishna realized that one cow didn't came back. By the way, Nanda Maharaj had 9 lakh cows. So one cow didn't came back, and Krishna personally went to search for that cow. And she was hiding in a bush, and the Lord embraced her and cajoled her, and in that way brought her along with him. This is Krishna's love. And one time Gopas, and they are searching and they are asking the question, where is Krishna? And one Gopa said, there he is on the top of the mountain. And all of them started running towards Krishna. And one Gopa was telling, I will reach Krishna first. And hearing him, the other Gopa was getting encouraged. And the other Gopa was thinking, he started running faster. He said, no, I will reach Krishna first. And in this way, everybody started running to the best of their capacity. And everybody was saying, I will reach Krishna first. But in the heart of the heart, everybody was feeling that I am running to my best and I am encouraging all others to run better than me and reach Krishna earlier than me. So I am just encouraging them, boosting them up so that they can reach Krishna first. But externally they were saying, I will reach Krishna first. This was spiritual consciousness. This is how the Brajavasis, the Gopas, they used to love Krishna. And then Krishna knew their spirit. And therefore when it was about to reach the summit of the hill and all the Gopas were running, everybody reached Krishna first because Krishna expanded into as many forms as the Gopas. And they could touch him and they could reach Krishna first. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the eternal pastimes of the Lord. And the Lord is inviting us to participate in these internal pastimes. What are we waiting for? We should dive in this ocean of love by simply accepting the instructions which the Lord is giving us. Hare Krishna.